A single moving charged object creates a magnetic field. So let's suppose we're looking at some particular point at a distance r from the charge, with the position vector from the charge to this point being denoted r, and the charge is travelling at some velocity along the x-axis. Well, the magnetic field at this point is defined as the magnetic permeability on 4 pi by the charge q by the cross product between the velocity vector and the position vector on r cubed. So if we denote the direction vector pointing from this charge to this point, which is a unit vector, so that'll be equal to r on its magnitude, then we can rewrite this as r hat on r squared. So using the right hand rule, if you place the bottom of your hand in the plane of these vectors and curl your fingers from the velocity vector to the position vector, then your thumb points in the direction of the magnetic field. So in this case, the magnetic field would point in the z direction. And here is another example of the charge traveling in the y direction. So if we take the cross product between v and r using the right hand rule, so putting your hand in the plane of these vectors and curling your fingers from v to r, then the magnetic field in this case will point along the x-axis. So effectively the magnetic field is perpendicular to the velocity and position vector. Now let's take the magnitude of the magnetic field to get some more insight into it. So we have the constant being the magnetic permeability on 4 pi, and we take the magnitude of charge, so the charge can be positive or negative, and then the cross product between v and r hat is the magnitude of v by the magnitude of r hat, which is 1, being a unit vector, by sine of the angle between them. And we have r squared in the denominator. And here we'll take theta between 0 and pi. So sine theta will be positive in the first and second quadrants. And note that this permeability is the magnetic permeability of free space, but if you want the magnetic field inside a material, you'll have a different magnetic permeability constant. Now a larger charge will increase the strength of the magnetic field, as expected. And if the charge is traveling at a faster speed, then that will also produce a stronger magnetic field. And the magnetic field drops off with the square of the radial distance to the point away from the charge. And the magnetic field is a maximum when sine theta is equal to 1 or theta is equal to pi on 2. So as you can imagine, if we take a parallelogram between these two vectors, the area inside this parallelogram gives the magnitude of the cross product between v and r. So now let's look at the units of the magnetic field. So recall the magnetic permeability had units of newtons per square ampere. And suppose the charge is in coulombs. the velocity is in meters per second, and the radial distance from the charge to the point is in meters squared. So coulombs per second is amps. So one of these amps will cancel with this one, and meter cancels with meter. So what we get is Newton per ampere meter, using standard international units. And 1 Newton per ampere meter is 1 Tesla, denoted T. Suppose we have a charge moving in a magnetic field. So when we draw the magnetic field in this manner, the X is the tail of the magnetic field vector. So you can visualize the magnetic field vector as pointing in the negative X direction or into the screen. Whereas if we draw the magnetic field vector in this manner, then it points along the positive X axis in this case. Now a magnetic field will exert a force on a charged object moving within that field. And this force is going to depend on the charge and the cross product between the velocity vector of the charge and the magnetic field vector. So therefore magnetic forces only act on moving charges, where the velocity vector is not zero. And given the cross product, the magnetic force will be perpendicular to the velocity vector and the magnetic field vector. So in this case, B goes into the screen, and the charge has a velocity vector along the y-axis. So by the right-hand rule, if you curl your fingers from V to B, you have to flip your right hand upside down, and therefore your thumb points downwards in the direction of the magnetic force. So if the charge was negative, then the magnetic force will point upwards instead. So note that if V was parallel or anti-parallel to the magnetic field vector, this cross product would be zero. So only charges that travel across the magnetic field lines experience a magnetic force. So in this case, the charge will be traveling parallel to the magnetic field lines. Now if we take the magnitude of the magnetic force, so that will be the magnitude of the charge by the magnitude of the cross product, which is the magnitude of V by the magnitude of B by sine of the angle between those vectors. And for sine to be positive, we take the angle between 0 and pi. So here we see the magnitude of the magnetic force being maximized when theta is equal to pi on 2, or sine theta is equal to 1, meaning that the velocity vector and the magnetic field vector are both perpendicular in this case. Now if we had a region that contains a magnetic field and also an electric field, then a moving charge object will experience a force that's a combination of the force from the electric field plus the force from the magnetic field. So these are independent forces from each separate field. And this is called the Lorentz force. Suppose we connect a conductor, being this plate, to a battery using a wire. then the electrons will flow from the anode and back to the cathode of the battery through that plate. So an electron is going to have a velocity pointing to the right. So if we have the magnet at a position where the magnetic field lines point downwards, then we have a magnetic field vector at the location of an electron pointing downwards. So recall the magnetic force is equal to the charge by the cross product between the velocity vector and the magnetic field vector. So using the right hand rule, if you curl your fingers from the velocity vector to the magnetic field vector, then the resulting vector would point into the screen. But given that the charge of an electron is negative, so the resulting magnetic force points out of the screen. So therefore this force is going to deflect electrons to one side of the plate. So that leaves behind a region of positive charge on the other side of the plate. So therefore if you attach a voltmeter between these points, you're going to measure a potential difference. So this is the Hall effect, which describes the potential difference created in a conductor by an external magnetic field that has a component perpendicular to the direction of the charges moving in the conductor. So the Hall effect is used in different applications, such as magnetic field sensors. A charged particle is traveling at a velocity v in a uniform magnetic field B. Determine the trajectory of the particle hereafter. So let's label this direction as y, which is in the direction of the magnetic field vector. And we're going to resolve the velocity into perpendicular and parallel components to the magnetic field vector. So the perpendicular component will be in the z direction. So recall the magnetic force is equal to the charge by the cross product between the velocity vector and the magnetic field vector. And by vector addition, we can write the velocity vector as the sum of the parallel and perpendicular components. So we can use the distributive law of the cross product to rewrite this as V parallel cross B plus V perpendicular cross B. And therefore the cross product between parallel vectors is 0, and the magnetic field effectively acts to change the direction of the particle. So it doesn't contribute to the motion in the y direction. So this can be seen using the right hand rule. So taking the cross product between V perpendicular and the magnetic field vector, so you basically curl the fingers of your right hand from V perpendicular to B, and therefore the magnetic force acts in a negative x direction. So you can visualize this as uniform circular motion in the XZ plane. So it looks something like this, with the magnetic force causing the centripetal acceleration of the charged particle, with V perpendicular being the tangent velocity to this circular path. So therefore, given the charge is translating along the Y direction and the magnetic field causes it to deflect in the XZ plane, the trajectory of the particle can be seen as a helix. So it looks something like this.